One of the things that you can do is pick a constant time that you always go to the gym. If you are consistent with the time that you go to the gym, what's going to happen is you are going to see the same faces over and over again because Hey everyone, thanks for tuning in. Today, I'm going to be discussing overcoming social anxiety while attending the gym. But before I start, you guys know the drill. Like the video, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell, ding, ding, ding. And if you don't want to watch the entire video, I will be including timestamps in the description so you can skip ahead to the section that you want. Now, onto the topic at hand. Earlier today, I was in the Discord server of John Glad Van Dam, aka Obese to Beast, and in the Discord server, I got into a discussion with one of the members regarding social anxiety. It all started when he told me that he was going to be attending a CrossFit gym, and then I had recommended some suggestions for him, and he mentioned how he had extreme social anxiety and he was actually afraid to go to a gym. So in today's video, this is completely on the fly. Originally I had a different video set up for today. I was going to do another scam alert video, but I thought it would make for a great topic since a lot of people do suffer from social anxiety, and if you do have social anxiety, this can make it very difficult and very intimidating to go to the gym. So in today's video, I want to discuss two things. Number one, I would like to discuss some strategies when you actually go to the gym and why exactly exercise can help with your social anxiety. And then the second thing I would like to discuss is some cognitive behavioral therapy and some techniques that you could actually employ in your daily practice to help overcome your social anxiety. Now, with regard to exercise is going to be one of the best ways to help to mitigate some of the symptoms you are experiencing from your social anxiety. One of the reasons is because when you exercise, this is going to improve blood flow to the brain. And another one of the benefits is that when you do exercise, your body is going to release chemicals called endorphins, and these endorphins are going to interact with receptors in your brain, and they are going to trigger positive feelings in the body. And one of the things with regard to exercise, another way how it can exactly help with social anxiety is when you do exercise, if it is something that you are not used to doing, anytime you have exposure to some type of discomfort, it is going to increase your tolerance toward that discomfort. And one of the things with regard to the gym is when you are exercising, a lot of the symptoms from exercise are going to be similar to symptoms that you would experience if you have social anxiety. And by exposing someone with high anxiety sensitivity to psychological symptoms they fear, that is going to increase their tolerance toward those symptoms. When you work out, some of the symptoms that you are going to experience are going to be rapid heartbeat, sweating, and breathlessness. So if you do suffer from social anxiety, and these are some of the symptoms that you get when you are socially anxious, then by working out and by constantly being exposed to those different symptoms, it will help you to be able to tolerate them better in your daily life. Another thing with regard to exercise is if you are afraid to go to the gym because of social anxiety, one of the things that you can do is pick a constant time that you always go to the gym. If you are consistent with the time that you go to the gym, what's going to happen is you are going to see the same faces over and over again because most people tend to go at the exact same time. So if you pick a consistent time and stick to that time every single time you go to the gym, as you see the same faces over and over again, you are going to familiarize yourself with those people, and because you are going to get to know them a little bit and even just see them on a day-to-day basis, it won't be quite as intimidating when you see them again the follow-up time when you go to the gym. So be sure to pick a consistent time when you go to the gym. Another thing that you can do when you go to the gym to help mitigate symptoms of social anxiety would be to work out with a friend. If you are working out with a friend, one, they're going to help to motivate and support you, and then the second thing is you are going to the gym with someone that is familiar to you. And because you have somebody that is familiar to you, again, this is going to put you at ease a little bit and it's going to calm you down a little bit more. So by bringing a friend with you to the gym, then this can greatly improve symptoms of social anxiety when you are attending the gym. Another thing you could do if you don't have a friend to go with you to the gym is go to the gym during off-peak hours. Pretty much every single gym without exception, between the hours of 2 to 4 p.m. and 8 to 10 p.m., you'll see anywhere from 4 to 10 people. It's very rare that you see more than a dozen people during those times. So if you don't have a friend to go to the gym with, then go during off-peak hours because there's not going to be as many people, and because there aren't going to be as many people, then this can help to mitigate some of the symptoms of your social anxiety. And now that we've discussed some strategies for when you're actually in the gym, what exactly can you do when you are outside of the gym to help to mitigate symptoms of your social anxiety? Well, one of the things is going to be cognitive behavioral therapy. This is something that I use with a lot of clients of mine that have social anxiety, and it works absolute wonders. It's not a quick fix though. It is something that you are going to have to work at, and if you put in the work and you do it on a regular basis, this can greatly improve the way that you react to these different different situations that would normally cause social anxiety. If you are not familiar with cognitive behavioral therapy, essentially it is a type of psychotherapy, and it helps patients become aware of inaccurate or negative thinking, and by viewing these challenging situations more clearly, it is going to allow them to respond more effectively and efficiently to the situations that they are in. Now, with regard to cognitive behavioral therapy, there are several exercises that you can do when you are on your own to help figure out exactly what these thoughts are and why exactly you are having them and how exactly you could combat them. A few of the exercises that I'm going to be discussing today. Number one, you want to be able to rate your daily anxiety. Number two, you need to identify what your triggers are. Three, you need to be able to monitor what exactly your physical sensations are to those different triggers. Four, you want to monitor what exactly your anxious thoughts are. And then five, you want to be able to identify your errors in thinking. If you are able to do all of those, then it's going to be much easier to be able to come up with coping mechanisms to be able to help mitigate symptoms of social anxiety. Now, with regard to number one, rating your daily activity, for this exercise, what you can do is every single thing that gives you social anxiety, you can rate it on a scale of 0 to 100. 0 is going to be absolutely no anxiety whatsoever. A 50 would be your typical level of anxiety. So whatever your anxiety levels are normally at, that would be a 50. And then 100, this would be extreme anxiety, not wanting to leave the house whatsoever, wanting to just crawl up in a ball. And the way that you are going to use this rating system to be able to rate your daily anxiety is you are going to get a sheet of paper and you want to come up with 3 separate columns. The way the columns are going to work, on the left-hand column, you are going to write down what day of the week it is. So just go Monday through Sunday on the left-hand column. Then in the middle column, what you want to do is the average anxiety level that you are experiencing during that day. Then in the right-hand column, you want to put your anxiety triggers. That is going to be the first exercise. Once you've done that for a week or two, you're going to have exactly with the different types of anxiety triggers that you suffer throughout the day. This is going to help you to come up with coping strategies later on. The second exercise, this is going to be identifying your anxiety triggers. With this one over here, what you want to do, same thing, except this time you're going to write down 4 separate columns. In the first column, you want to write down the date and time. So now we're going to get a little bit more specific. We're not thinking about the general day as a whole. Rather, we are focusing on specific events in every single day. In the second column, what you want to do is write down your anxiety trigger. So whatever the event was that triggered your symptoms of anxiety, write that down in the second column. Then in the third column, what you want to do is rate it. We are going to use the same rating system from the first exercise, 0 to 100. 0 is no anxiety whatsoever. 10 is extreme severe anxiety. And then 50 is going to be your average. Sorry, I meant to say 100, not 10. But you can even do 1 to 10. It doesn't really matter. The point is, the lower it is, no anxiety. On the higher end, that's going to be major anxiety. And then right in the middle is your average level of anxiety that you would normally experience throughout the day. Then in the fourth column, this is where you are going to write down your coping response. So things that you would normally do to help soothe yourself, to prevent yourself and mitigate some of the symptoms of the anxiety that you are experiencing. That is the second exercise. Then the third exercise, once you've done the first 2 that you can do, this is going to be monitoring your physical sensations. With regard to your physical sensations, what you want to do, step 1 is going to be briefly describing what exactly the anxious situation is that you are experiencing. The second thing that you would like to note down is the anxiety level during the episode. So for a particular event that occurs, if you notice that you have some severe anxiety, you want to rate every single event differently based on how exactly you respond to that event. And then the third thing that you would like to do when you are monitoring your physical sensations is you would like to have a checklist of physical sensations during the anxiety episode. Some of the things that you could put down in this checklist would be things like chest discomfort, shortness of breath, elevated heart rate. You could also put things like muscle tension, nausea, pretty much whatever physical symptoms you would normally experience during an anxiety episode, you would put in this column. That's the third exercise. Then the fourth exercise, once we have all of that information, now we want to monitor your anxious thoughts. With regard to this exercise over here, the first thing we want to do is, again, we want to create a sheet with 4 separate columns. And the way the columns are going to work, the first column is going to have the anxiety episode. So what exactly was the event that occurred that caused the anxiety in you. The second thing is going to be the intensity of the anxiety. Again, we are using the 0 to 100 scale. 0, absolutely nothing. 100, extreme anxiety. 50 is your normal level of anxiety. In the third column, now we want to start reflecting. We're going to do a little bit of introspection now. So what we want to do in the third column is we want to be able to look deep inside of ourselves and think, what exactly is the threatening thought that I have from this event? And then the fourth column, this is going to be your perceived catastrophic situation. So with regard to this one, I want to skip ahead to the last two columns, the threat of thought and also the catastrophic event. With regard to this one, I'm going to use the example of sleep. Let's say that you are unable to get to sleep. You're just having a really difficult time getting to sleep. And the threatening thought that you have is, if I do not get to sleep right now, I'm going to be exhausted tomorrow. And if I get exhausted tomorrow, I'm not going to be able to perform my work properly. And if I don't perform my work properly, I'm going to get fired. And if I get fired, then I'm going to end up becoming homeless. And if I become homeless, then I'm going to have to live on the streets for the rest of my life. You can see how it goes from not being able to sleep, which is just the threatening thought that you have, and it just keeps getting worse and worse. And then the catastrophic event is not being able to sleep equates to losing my job and becoming homeless. So whatever the anxiety is that you are experiencing, this is what you want to do. What is the threatening thought that you have in your mind? And then what is the catastrophic thought, or what is the absolute worst case scenario in my mind that is going to occur from this event occurring? That is the fourth exercise. And then once we've completed this fourth exercise where we've monitored our anxious thoughts, now that we know what those thoughts are, we want to be able to identify what exactly our thinking errors are with those thoughts. And that is going to be the fifth exercise. So with the fifth exercise, in order to identify your thinking errors, we are going to do this by creating two columns once again. In the first column, what you want to do is have different thinking errors, and there's going to be 6 different ones that I'm going to be covering. But in the second column, what you want to be able to do is give examples of your anxiety thinking errors. Now, with regard to coming up with thinking errors, the different ones that I would like to discuss, number one is going to be catastrophizing. Catastrophizing is essentially jumping to the worst case scenario. So going back to the example of sleep, it starts out with I can't go to sleep, and then that keeps tumbling and growing from I can't go to sleep, I'm not going to be able to function tomorrow, I'm not going to be effective at work, I'm going to get fired, I'm going to become homeless if I lose my job. So the anxiety, the catastrophic event is losing your job and becoming homeless. That would be your critical thinking error. Now, once we've done catastrophizing, the next thing that you would like to look at is jumping to conclusions. With regard to jumping to conclusions, this relates back to catastrophizing, because what you are doing is you are taking a event that you perceive to be a negative situation, and then you are automatically assuming that the worst case scenario is going to happen in your mind. So in the right hand column, you would write exactly what your thinking error is and how exactly are you jumping to a conclusion, and does it make logical sense, the conclusion that you are jumping to. The next one, the third thinking error that you are going to experience, is going to be tunnel vision. With regard to tunnel vision, this one over here is always focusing on the negative without even thinking about the positive that can come from the event. So going back to the sleep example, if you are thinking of lack of sleep equating to being ineffective at work, losing your job, becoming homeless, there's a huge gray area in there. There's not just if I lose sleep, I'm going to be inefficient at work. So by acknowledging the catastrophic event and then thinking what are some other possibilities aside from this worst case scenario, that is greatly going to help you improve your symptoms of social anxiety. Because at the end of the day, if you don't sleep, that is not going to automatically equate to you losing your job and becoming homeless. You could lack a lot of sleep for one day and you might be able to function perfectly fine. So how exactly do you feel when you get a good night's sleep? How do you feel when you get a poor night's sleep? Normally, when you do not get enough sleep, do you function to the point where you are not optimal at work whatsoever and you end up having a really bad day at work? Because if you've had a bad night's sleep before and it didn't lead to you becoming fired and becoming homeless, then there's no reason to assume that that is going to happen this time around, since it's never happened any other time in the past when you have missed a night's sleep. Now, the next thing, this is going to be number 4, and this is going to be nearsightedness. With regard to nearsightedness, this is when you tend to assume that the threat is imminent, when in fact it is not. So if you find that you have a negative thought and then you automatically assume that it is going to happen, again, you want to think of what are some other scenarios that may play out that are not threatening. If you do lack a night of sleep, you're not automatically going to become homeless. So what are some other scenarios that would come aside from that imminent threat that you are perceiving that is a given, it is going to happen no way around it. Because at the end of the day, again, if you miss a night's sleep, it's not going to lead to you becoming homeless. Because if you've missed night's sleep in the past, then you know that you've done it in the past and you've been perfectly fine. So focus on what exactly has happened in the past rather than trying to focus on the worst case scenario. Then the fifth row that you are going to jot down, this is another thinking error, and it is going to be emotional reasoning. A lot of people that have social anxiety, one of the things that they think of is, I'm very, very scared of this thought that's occurring, so because I am scared, then it must be true. But the truth is, just because you are scared of something, it does not mean that it is something that you need to be scared of. So just because you are afraid of losing sleep, being inefficient at work, losing your job, and becoming homeless, it doesn't mean that it is going to happen just because you are afraid that it is going to happen. And by acknowledging that just because you are afraid of something, it doesn't mean that it is automatically going to happen, this can greatly reduce your symptoms of social anxiety. And then the last row, this you would like to create, it's an all or nothing category. With regard to all or nothing, this is another thing that people with social anxiety tend to have. It's either everything is perfect or everything is absolutely terrible and everything is going to completely break apart. But this is the real world, and in the real world, there is a ton of gray area. Nothing is perfect and nothing is 100% flawed. At the end of the day, there are going to be pros and cons to everything. So rather than focusing on the worst case scenario and the best case scenario, what you would like to do for this is focus on the entire gray area, because by focusing on the gray area, it is going to allow you to see things much more clearly, and you are not going to be terrified by every single event that would normally cause you to have social anxiety. Now, with regard to these exercises right over here, there's 5 different exercises, and these are a starting point to be able to help you overcome your social anxiety. Next week, if you guys did enjoy this video, go ahead, leave a comment down in the comment section if you would like me to continue making these types of videos. And if you did enjoy it, then next week I will come up with another video on overcoming social anxiety. And in that video, I will give you some more exercises to try out. But that's pretty much it for today's video. If you enjoyed the video, be sure to smash that like button so I know to make more of these types of videos in the future. And if you're either new to the channel or haven't subscribed yet, be sure to subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell, as I will be uploading new videos every single day. That's it for today's video. Thanks for tuning in, and I will see you again tomorrow.